Guys, in this video I am going to show you the steps involved in cleaning and general maintenance of a Canik SFT Mete. Of course, the Mete series firearms is one that came onto the market not very long ago from Canik, and they became an instant success. Of course, this is the SFT model, and it is one of my favorite firearms. This gun has an amazing trigger. That's something that Canik is known for. Now, in this video, what I'm going to demonstrate for you is how to take one of these down for cleaning and maintenance. We are not going to be modifying this firearm or anything like that. And according to YouTube's own rules that I'm going to post on the screen, we are going to be following them, correctly. So YouTube, if they hit this video or strike this video or whatever, they will literally be in violation of their published rules. So if you check the highlighted portion of the photo on the screen, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the first rule in maintaining any firearm is to always make sure that you are unloaded. Okay, remove the magazine, which we already have done here. You want to lock the action of the firearm back. Check inside the chamber to make sure that there is no ammunition in there, especially with this gun, because you need to press the trigger in order to be able to disassemble it. So in a safe direction, we're going to press the trigger, and again, the Canik firearms have just an amazing trigger. Now, one thing that you'll notice on these is you have a tab on each side of the firearm, very similar to a Glock, only these are a little more pronounced. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull back on the slide just a very small amount, just like that. Pull down on these and slide the slide forward. Now I want to show you something on these guns that is a little bit different than Glocks as well as a few others. You do not slide the slide all the way off of the frame. You slide it forward about so far, and then you just lift up. Okay, these do not slide completely off. You just lift up slightly. There is no cutout in the back of the slide for the ejector. You can see it here on the frame of the firearm, and of course on the back of the slide you see that there is no opening for the ejector to be able to go through. Okay, now that we have our frame and our slide apart, the next step, of course, is to remove the recoil spring and guide rod. Just push in slightly and lift up. That comes right out just like that. And of course, then we have our barrel. I'm just taking my thumb, pushing up on that, and then I can move it right out of the slide just like so. Now, one thing that I always try to do when I disassemble one, the first step for me is I will always take my solvent. In this case, I'm using rim oil. Some people hate the stuff. It gets the job done. Depending on how dirty it is, I will simply spray inside that barrel just like that, both ends, and then I'm just going to set it aside. Okay, let that solvent do its work. No matter what type of solvent you use, spray it down, wipe it down, whatever. Give the solvent time to work. The slide, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to spray it down. I am not going to spray back here where the firing pin mechanism is. You don't want to get any kind of lubrication inside there. You want to run those dry. Okay, if you start putting some kind of a lubrication in there, one thing that happens is they will gum up over time. Then you will need to take those apart and clean those, because you can actually get light primer strikes if they get gummed up. Okay, put a little bit of spray in there, a little bit of solvent in there, and then of course the same with the frame. Just spray it down. Make sure you get those rails everywhere that there is metal to metal contact, and set that aside. Of course, these little nylon brushes, I use them very regularly. I'll put a link down in the description, guys, if you want to help out the channel. If you're needing some cleaning supplies, go down, check out the links down below. And of course, with just any of your firearms, your rails, things like that, that's where you're going to get some buildup. And these little brushes, this kind in particular, you can use an old toothbrush, but I like these. You can get in there and you can really scrub to help get that buildup out. You know, you want to make sure that you get front and back on both sides, just like this. Okay, get the other side. And this gun is not very dirty, but it is, you know, I did want to show this in video on cleaning one of these, because you know, it was time for this one to have a little bit of attention. Even though I've not shot it a lot recently, it was due for a little bit of a cleaning since the last time I had shot it. So once you get the rails cleaned and scrubbed good, I'll also go down in here with the brush just to loosen up any kind of a buildup, just like that. Make sure that you just get all of the buildup broken up, get it loosened up. Okay, just like that. Now, of course, take a paper towel or whatever, just kind of wipe it out. Look to make sure that you don't have any bent or broken components. Look to make sure there's nothing missing or loose. You know, this is the perfect time to inspect your firearm to make sure that it is going to be in prime working order. Okay, if you have any issues, be sure to get repairs made, contact a gunsmith or whatever, especially if you're new to firearms. That's something that you definitely want to do. Now, one thing that you always want to pay close attention to when cleaning your slide, and this is something that gets overlooked by a lot of folks and they end up regretting it. Now, a common problem with some firearms when they get dirty can be a failure to eject. Okay, and the reason for that is the ejector will get buildup behind it. Now, it's kind of hard to see in this video. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Do you see that little hook there kind of on the bottom of your screen where my thumb would be? That is the ejector. In fact, I'm going to take this, and you can see there I've got the brush right on top of it. If you get some buildup behind that ejector, what can happen is you will have failure to eject, things like that. So take your brush, be sure to scrub back behind that, make sure that you get any kind of a buildup off of that ejector, because if you don't, you're going to have some failures to eject, things like that. I always will just use the brush and just go over the entire breech face, just like so. Scrub it out real good. You can put just a little bit of solvent on this to get behind the ejector, or the extractor I should say. I know some people criticize me in some of my videos where I will call the extractor the ejector, but yes, the technical term for that is extractor. Okay, make sure that you clean behind that properly. Okay, just like so. Clean that breech face. Now, earlier you saw where I sprayed up in the front section of the slide, but I did not back here. What I'm going to do is simply take my brush and pull some of that solvent back to the other opposite end of the slide. You know, I'm going to clean that way. That way you don't run the risk of getting a whole bunch built up back there on where the firing pin mechanism is. I'm telling you guys that it will make a mess for you. It'll cause you issues, causing you to have light primer strikes and that sort of thing. Of course, turning it over, taking my brush, loosening all of the grime up just like that. And you can use Q-tips. This is something that I do regularly. Okay, and you can take a Q-tip and get in there, and you can see there, of course it's not very dirty, but it will help pick up some of that buildup that is on the slide. Okay, just like that. Turn over, get the other side. And I know that this is a step that a lot of people do not do. I have had students in some of my concealed carry classes talk about how clean their firearm is, and then I would take a Q-tip like this and run it down the rail, and it would just be covered. It would just be pitch black. And you know, of course, then sometimes they would be quite shocked, because that was something that someone that is new to firearms, in many of those cases, did not know. Okay, we'll just set that aside, get us another one. And it really depends on how much time you want to spend doing this, how clean that you want to have your firearms. Personally, I am someone that will occasionally white glove these things, simply because they are expensive and I like trying to take care of them. I want them to last me for a long time, enjoy shooting them and things like that. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to do the frame rail the same. You know, take a Q-tip, clean underneath there, just like so. Get all of that gunk out. And again, guys, this gun is not dirty at all. Okay, now we'll just set that aside. Back to our barrel. Our solvent has had plenty of time to work. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take the barrel and I'm going to take a brush. Just run that brush inside there, and I like to twist just a little bit to kind of help break up some of the buildup that is in there. Okay, just like that. Okay, and this is obviously, there's not any real buildup on this, but what you want to do at this point, make sure you inspect your barrel, inspect the crown, make sure there is no cracks, no bulges or anything like that on the barrel, because if there is, you need to stop using it immediately. Okay, if any kind of a crack or anything like that, that's just an indication that the barrel is failing. So be sure to stop using it immediately, replace it, and get that problem taken care of. Okay, now some things that I will do occasionally, there's two ways you can do this. You can either use one of these little holders here. They hold these cleaning pads very well, and you know, you just take you a cleaning pad and put you a little oil on it. If I can get these separated here, just like this, just fold it over. You know, it's not very precise or anything, and slip it through here. You can take a little bit of an oil, and this is where I will differentiate. A lot of times I know that some of the CLPs will act as a lubricant as well as a cleaner, but I do like to use just a little bit of oil. Just a little bit of oil on a patch. Take the patch, run it through just like so, pull it back. Okay, and that will also help to get out any of the residual buildup that is in there. Okay, you can see there we're nice and clean, and we'll set that aside. Our spring and guide rod does not necessarily require any kind of lubrication, but I will take a towel, wipe it off. If it is very dirty, I will put a little bit of solvent on it just to help clean some of that stuff off. Look at the spring, make sure that there are no issues with it. Make sure that it's not crimped anywhere that it shouldn't be, that it's not loose or part of it broken or anything like that, or look like it's about ready to break. And that's pretty much it. Of course, I'm going to take the slide, and on this slide I'm going to put just a little bit of oil. Okay, not much at all. It does not take much. Just a little there, a little there. Now, when I put this back on the firearm, that is going to distribute all the way down. Okay, so that's something that I don't need to worry about going all the way down here. And you can see where I just tipped it up. It's actually running down toward the back, because I don't want a lot of buildup back there where that firing pin mechanism is, like I mentioned before. Now I'm going to take the frame and add just a touch of lube to the fire control group. Doesn't take much at all. Okay, just a drop right inside the frame. Okay, just work that action a bit to let it kind of get down in there where it's supposed to be. Check over the frame, make sure that everything is functioning properly, that nothing is out of place. And now we are ready for reassembly. So I will take my slide, take my barrel, I will drop the barrel into the slide just like that. And I want you to notice on the barrel you've got these two notches. Okay, you've got this first one up top here, and then you have this lower one down here on the barrel that's cut out. Okay, your guide rod and recoil spring, the rounded black part is going to go towards the end of the barrel. The flat shiny part is going to go back here. And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to intentionally assemble this wrong and show you what will happen. Okay, I'm going to insert my guide rod and recoil spring. One thing I like to do is I will cup my hand over it, and on this gun I'm going to put it just on that first notch. Some of you guys, if you're familiar with Glocks, you know that that's typically where it goes, is on that first notch. This is one difference in these firearms. Okay, when I go to try to reassemble this, I'm going to set the slide onto the frame, and I'm going to lock it down there, and I cannot get it to go into position. Okay, it is not going to let me, and the reason for that is the guide rod and the recoil spring. Okay, it needs to go down on that second notch. Okay, you can see there we are now on that second notch where that cutout was for this. Okay, if you don't have it in the right place, it's not going to let this set back on the frame properly. I know that that's something that some guys run into that are not familiar with these Caniks. And of course, the reassembly, just set the slide on top of the frame just like this. Make sure that you are behind the ejector. Okay, make sure that you're behind it. It will line up if you have that in the right place. Okay, you can see there where we are, where it sets right back down on there. Once I get to this position, I can simply pull the action back and it will lock in place for us just like that. Okay, we're still not done. One other thing we want to do, keep it pointed in a safe direction. I want to press that trigger. Okay, we snapped. I want to hold that trigger. I want to cycle the action on that firearm. Then I want to release it and listen for the click to make sure that it's going to work properly. Okay, now that is the basic process for cleaning and maintenance of a Canik Mete SFT. Guys, hope you like the video. Be sure to leave me any questions that you may have down in the description below. Check out all the links down in the description. What you buy through there helps to go to support what we do here. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of the videos on my channel, and we will see you next time.